Welcome back to the SRX preview show. I'm Casey Campbell. Good to see everybody. And we have a new person making their preview show debut. If you've been following me, you know this guy, Mitchell Brewer from News from the Pits, which was formerly Popular Speed, and also the host of the, I haven't heard this word in a while, but the Encumbered podcast. Of course, you had Taylor Gray on there this week. Hey, bud, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good, man. So I know you've been doing a lot of stuff. Of course, went to the ARCA race. We'll get into that, and we'll get into that in some other show. Mm-hmm. But today we're, of course, talking about this week in SRX. It's a big weekend. I know you were at Elko for the ARCA race, but I know you caught some headlines of it. What a race that Slinger Speedway. What a track. That was awesome to watch.
Yeah, I didn't catch the race live, but rewatching it, that was a really fun race. I'm not too familiar with Slinger. Like, I know that the Slinger Nationals go on every year, but yeah, that was a very fun race to watch. And yeah, plenty of excitement to go around with that one.
Of course, how impressive were you with Luke Fenhaus? I talked to him yesterday. One of the nicest kids that you're ever going to meet. And of course, he's from Wisconsin. Of course, so his family owns a farm and stuff. And one of the nicest kid you're ever going to meet. And of course, who competes in the ARCA Midwest Tour. How impressed were you at him? Because of course, he won the Slinger Nationals to get into this race. And then he's running toe to toe with Tony Stewart. Of course, didn't get the win. Of course, Marco Andretti got the win. But how impressed were you with him?
I was very impressed. And it's just like, you see these guys come in and just take advantage of the opportunity. And that Luke Fenhaus was not a name that I really had heard much about before last weekend. He went in there and he kind of stole the show from everybody, and he made a name for himself. Now everybody knows that Luke Fenhaus name. Very good story for him. And like you said, it's just very cool to watch these guys just come in. And it's supposed to be the series about like Marco Andretti, Tony Stewart, Bobby Bonnie, guys like that. He's coming in here and making a name for himself, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, like Doug Kobe did at Stafford. It's cool to see a lot of guys get opportunities like this. Of course, Ernie Francis Jr. as well. A lot of people didn't know who he was. I knew who he was, and I also knew who Luke Fenhaus was. Of course, it was announced earlier that year he was part of the Kulwicki Driver Development Program, of course, being from Wisconsin. So that's how I knew who he was. So it was cool to see, and it'll be actually competing this weekend. So fun stuff there. All right. Of course, we all know the SRX series is going to Nashville Fairgrounds this weekend, and this is a big race because none other than quite essentially one of the big faces, or I could say the face of American motorsports. Chase Elliott's going to be in there, of course, racing against his dad. Of course, obviously everybody knows who Chase Elliott is, of course, with him being in NASCAR and Hendrick Motorsports, and of course winning the championship last year. How excited is it to see him in the series, and how big is it for SRX that he is in there?
I think it's absolutely huge. And you look at like the TV ratings for SRX, they've been fairly consistent. I think they're going to go up this week with the addition of Chase Elliott, and you got the fact that he's facing his dad. That's a must-see race right there. Even if one of them kicks each other's butt, that's still going to be really fun to watch. That might even make it better just to have the little bit of bragging rights between the two. But yeah, what a get for SRX racing. When the series started like back 6 weeks ago now, you didn't really see too much like NASCAR interaction with them. And right when the series like had was created, you thought maybe there would be like a Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch that was going to pop in here. But to get Chase in here, especially Chase, it's just like, you can't, like you said, he's the face of American motorsports. You can't ask for a better name in that series right now.
Of course, Haley Deegan will also be in the race as well. Tony Kanaan, Helio Castroneves. When's the last time you heard Chase Elliott and Helio Castroneves going to be in the same race? That's what makes SRX so much fun.
It's so crazy, man. It's just so cool to see all these different faces just in a race with each other. It's just awesome at Nashville Fairgrounds.
Yeah, that's the other thing, and I was getting at. And then, of course, you were on the call yesterday. I was as well. And it became pretty important to see why Chase is running this race. One is because he wants to race his dad. He hasn't done that much. And two, there's obviously, as you know, there's been a big push to get Nashville Fairgrounds back on the NASCAR schedule. And, if there's a lot of support behind that. Of course, you know, as you've seen it, there's also been a lot of pushback as well. How is this going to work out towards that? Because you know, this is a big deal, because to see what the fairgrounds could do for a series like SRX, we saw ARCA East run there earlier this year when Dale Jr. went down there. But this is going to be a lot. This is going to be a race that I think a lot of people are going to be watching.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that even with all the storylines that are heading into this race, I think it still needs to be a fairly decent showing at the track, which I'm not too concerned about because SRX really hasn't put on a bad show yet. But you're right. It's such a big event for this. It's going to bring in a big audience. And really, I think SRX is in the perfect position for this just because of everything that's going on. I can't see how this ends in a negative for them or the Speedway, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think so. It's definitely going to be fun to remember. But overall, looking back, since this is the final week of the season, I know that, you know, we didn't really get much out of Tony Stewart about what next year was going to look like. He did say, however, there's a lot of tracks that would like to be on the schedule, and from what it sounds like, it's not going to go past 6 weeks. It could, but there's going to be a lot of tracks. I mean, there was also talks about a road course being on there to maybe fit everybody's skill level. I mean, there's, you know, some guys that come from dirt, some guys that come from asphalt, some guys that come from short tracks, some guys that, you know, come from road racing, like Ernie Francis Jr., of course, who won in Trans Am, and that's where also Willie T. Ribbs came from. So what do you think the schedule should look like?
I think they should. It's tough because how do you, like, I don't know what road course they could go to. I'm sure they would have their options, but I think there should be some sort of road course. If they can fit one in there, I think it would be good to fit one in there. But other than that, I do really like the fact that they're visiting all these different short tracks. And it's just like bringing history to these tracks that may not get, like, they have their attention. You got guys like Matt Weaver constantly covering these tracks, but maybe to like the bigger audience that maybe cares more about Tony Stewart, maybe cares more about Chase Elliott, you're bringing attention to these tracks. And I think it's only positive where no matter what the schedule looks like, and I'm sure if they'll have their options, wherever it looks like, I think it's going to look pretty good. It's another thing where I think it's almost that 6 weeks kind of works against them because it's like, no matter what they do, it can be a good schedule. It's just a matter of what do you throw in there for the best possible show?
Yeah. I mean, the 6 tracks that we've ran on, well, the 5 tracks we ran on so far have been pretty good, and the fairgrounds are going to be just as good for that. So is there any tracks that you would like to see on there? I mean, there's a couple that in mind that I have, but what do you think?
It's tough. I think I really like the addition of Slinger and the way that they did that. That's the thing that really, because it brought even more attention to the Slinger Nationals. And if they can incorporate that with another short track race, I'm not too familiar with the short track scene, but if they can do that and have another Luke Fenhouse-like story, I think that's just awesome. Where you got guys that are literally not only just competing for a big short track win, but competing for a chance to be on TV in front of a million plus people on CBS. I think that just creates even more stories in. I know one of the big questions heading into the series was like, are these local guys going to stink up the show? Or are they going to be not creating enough storylines? Where I think it's kind of worked as the exact opposite, where it's kind of like brought these guys up and created an additional storyline where people are kind of watching what these guys do outside of SRX now. And I think more of that would be absolutely fantastic for not just SRX, but everybody in general.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely gonna be something. Definitely going to be something to watch there. I know that Jeff Striegel talked about possibly, you know, Berlin getting on there. Of course, they're having the ARCA race this week, so it's. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure Elko would love to have it on there with all those. I mean, well, you're in Minnesota, so that'd be.
Anything. We'll take anything, Casey.
Of course. I mean, it is. So yeah. All right. If you've watched any of these, you know what's coming next. It's time for we always like to pick races. I'll let you, since you're the guest and this is your first time, I'm gonna let you go first, bud.
I think it's really tough not to go with Tony Stewart each and every week because he's just been so good each and every week. He didn't win last week. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he doesn't win again this week. I'll go with Bobby Labonte. I think he's been right in that top 5 range. I think he'll eventually break through. I think it's going to be his time with Tony Stewart in second, of course.
Yeah, Bob, of course, you talked about me earlier this year. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. I think that he is going to, I think he's going to get it done. It's going to be a big show to close out the SRX season. Nothing like one of the biggest names in motorsports, or the face of motorsports, some people call him, to get it done at the Nashville Fairgrounds.
That'd be pretty awesome to see, especially if he would be able to go out and then win on Sunday too. And that's like he swept the weekend. That'd be storylines all over the place right there.
Well, of course, it's definitely going to be fun. But hey, one more thing. I do want to give a shout out to a few people. My friends at CBS who have done a tremendous job this year. Alan Bestwick is back. I think everybody loves that he is, he's calling motorsports again. Of course, he'll be in Indy in a few weeks doing some stuff with the Speedway. Good to see my good buddy Matt Yoakum back on TV. And for everyone that's there, that's done a tremendous job on the TV side, and just overall the series this has been fun to watch. I've tuned in every single race. It has been pure entertainment so far, and this is why I love what I do in covering motorsports, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's IndyCar, whether it's IMSA, whether it's NHRA, or whether it's SRX or anything else. This is fun, and SRX just adds to that, so that's definitely good there.
Absolutely. And like you said, just everybody involved with SRX, this could have been bad. Like if they didn't handle it properly, it could have been just not a great show to watch. But everybody from, like you said, all the TV people, all the people that work on the cars, all the people that work behind the scenes, it has been an absolute, I think it's been a bigger success than I could even thought it would be.
Yeah.
And it makes me want more than 6 weeks. And I kind of love that and hate it at the same time, because it's just like, I'm a person that like less is more in my opinion. And I love the feeling of, oh, I want more of that. But then at the same time, it's just like, we get this big NASCAR break coming up. There's ARCA obviously next week, but still, it's just like, I want more SRX. And it's just so cool to see all these guys, all these young guys, all these veterans, like Michael Waltrip out here racing. It's just been so much fun to watch and see.
Hey, you also got NHRA the next 2 weeks as well.
That's true. That's true.
That is true. I think they're actually down in Colorado this week. So we'll have some excitement for the watch the next 2 weeks. But anyway, hope you enjoyed all of these SRX previews throughout the season. Of course, big thanks to Mark Crystal. Big thanks to Jonathan Fiel, and of course Mitchell Brewer for joining me throughout the season in doing these. So that's been fun, and we got the preview show for NASCAR coming up. So stay tuned.